I've opened up the Hello World process that we created in the last video. And in this video, we're going to look at ways we can customize the Uipath Studio desktop. I'm going to start with this panel on the left where we have the activities, project, and snippets. I'm going to click on the snippets, and I'm going up to the upper right corner of that panel, and I want to pin the snippets panel to the side. We can also see the help text showing us this is auto hide. Before I click that pin, I want to notice that pin position. It looks like the pin is pointing down, showing this is unpinned to anything. When I click the pin, our snippets is pinned to the left side of the screen. I will also pin the activities and the project panel. And we see now our design panel is a lot larger. So if I need a larger design panel, I may want to pin everything in the panel on the left to the left side of the screen. With our panels pinned to the left side of the screen, we can still use them. I'll come over and click on Activities. Notice now the pin is pointing to the left, showing that it is pinned. From here, I can click on Add Activities if I like, or if I don't want to add anything, I can click in the Design window, and it hides our Activities panel. I'm going to unpin Activities and Project. Because I use these two often, I'm going to leave these two unpinned. Another thing we can do with these panels is move them around. I'm going to click on the Output panel, and looking at the pin, we see that that was pinned to the bottom of the screen. I want to move this Output panel from the bottom to the left. To do that, I'm going to click on this blue title bar here, click and drag it to the left. I'm going to move it in this left panel, meaning I'm going to move it to the left and create a new panel for it. We can adjust these panel sizes by clicking and dragging on the side of the panel. I'm going to click and drag the title bar again, and I can move this to the left, which will keep it right where it is, move it to the left of the panel I'm hovering over. I can move it to the top. It's now on top of the project and activities panel. I can move it to the bottom of that panel, or I can move it into the panel itself and share with the activities project. Will now have output, and the output is on the far right. If I want output to be in the center, I'll click and drag output. There it is in the center or over on the left. I will note that if I click and drag the title bar to the main window, we can only go to the top, the bottom, left, or right. But if we go into the properties, again, we can add it anywhere in those panels. When I grab this title bar, it's grabbing all of the panels that share this single panel. So if I move the output to the bottom, it's going to move output, project, and activities to the bottom. To move just the single item, I'm going to grab this tab, output, and move that to the bottom of the screen. Now we still have project and activities on the left. And when I pin the output and hide it, it's down here at the bottom again. I'm going to readjust these panels so that we can see the message box here. I'm going to click on the message box, and we see the properties for it. We're in the properties panel, but we can't even see the names of these other panels. So let's pin some of these. Now we can see the full name. Clicking Test Explorer, we'll pin that. Outline, pin that. Object Repository, we'll pin that. And Data Manager, we'll pin that. And we will talk about these other panels in other tutorials. And I'm leaving the properties unpinned because often there are more options in the properties panel than are shown in the activity itself. Now that will not happen with all activities, but for many activities, there are extra options in the properties window. And we can adjust the size of these input boxes here too. Other things we might want to do is minimize or hide the ribbon. The ribbon is this line across the top here with many things that we will learn about in future videos. We can minimize it by clicking this little arrow up here. We've got the compact view, and now back to the standard view. Then to pin this or hide it. And our first thought is How do we get it back? Well, one way to get it back is to hold down Control and press F1, but that one is really tough to remember. Hiding it again. Another way to bring it back is just by clicking on Design or Debug. That unhides it. Then clicking in the Design window hides it again. Same with Debug. We can also double click Design or Debug, and that toggles it just like our pin. We'll toggle it on and off. Let's go over to the Home tab. That takes us to Start, and this is the place where we're taken to when we open up Uipath. We see our first project here, Hello World, under the Open Recent, which is a list of our most recent programs we've worked with. From here, we can unpin this or click X to remove it from the recent list. Below Start, we've got Tools. The only thing I want to look at here is our Uipath extensions. When I first installed Uipath, we activated the Uipath extension for the Edge browser. I also did this for the Chrome browser, but not for Firefox. So if we want to install the Uipath extensions for Firefox, we can click Install here. Now I'm jumping down to Settings. In the General tab, we notice that we're in the English language. We can change the theme from light to dark. When I click the dark, it tells us that the theme has been modified and we need to restart Studio to apply the changes. I'll click Later. And I'm going to change this back to light because I don't want to change this to the dark theme at this time. The other thing I want to point out here is to reset all settings. Reset all settings to the default. Some changes may apply on the next application launch. So we really need to restart Uipath Desktop to reset those settings. But when we click this, we don't get that pop-up that we do when we're changing the theme. We have to manually close out of Uipath Studio and then open it back up to restart it. Now I'm going to skip down to Locations. Here I can set the default location for the project path. If you remember back when we started our Hello World program, it did give us a suggested folder to place our project. But I wanted to change mine, and I'm going to change it here for the default. I changed mine to C Uipath. I'm going to select the Uipath folder. And now when we start a new project, this will be the default location. Let's go back to the Start panel and see if that worked. I'm going to click on Process for a new process, Show Advanced Options, and we see our location is now defaulted to C:\Uipath. I'll cancel out of here. I have a couple more things I want to look at, but for that we need to go back to the Uipath IDE, and IDE stands for Individual Development Environment. And from here, what I want to mention is when we go to the Project tab, here we can expand all, collapse all, refresh, sync with active document. We are probably not going to use that one. Clicking on the File Explorer, this opens up the Windows File Explorer for the project that I am in. Then we've got this gear. This is Project Settings. Notice we have Hello World as the name of our project. I'm going to change that to Hello World First Program. And when I click on the OK here, we'll see that the name of the project will get updated. And now it says Hello World First Program. There are a lot more settings, but those are the main ones that I wanted to make you aware of. In the next video, we will continue looking at Uipath.